calf as well. I was thinking, well, that's the end of our running. But yeah, it was a strange one because I was cramping in one of my toes, which was sort of going up the front of my shin. And then as I sort of set off to try and get down the other end, I cramped in that calf as well. So I was cramping both sides of my lower leg. And as I went, oh no, I'm cramping, I cramped in my left hamstring at the same time. So I was like, I've got both legs, and then I had a back spasm when I hit the ground. So it was just like full body.
Well, that was Glenn Maxwell after his historic knock overnight. I'm struggling to talk because I was up way too late watching the cricket. Welcome back to Cricket Unfiltered. I'm Manners. I'm joined by a co-host, James Bazley from Queensland Cricket. James, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Manners. I got probably a little bit more sleep than you did, mate, but I definitely stayed up for the first half of that game. What an amazing knock.
Yeah, quite incredible. So we've got a lot to talk about in this episode. We're going to go through that amazing performance from Australia last night. We're also going to talk about the timed out controversy. I'm curious to hear James's opinion on that one. Then we'll wrap it up with a bit of domestic talk. There's been some action in the Marsh Cup and in the Marsh Sheffield Shield. You can send me plugging the sponsors because I've been brainwashed when I commentate for Cricket Australia. But that we'll get into that because there's been an amazing 100 by a young New South Welshman that has actually brought about a New South Wales victory in the Shield. So a couple of bits of history today. But let's start with the game overnight. James, Australia playing Afghanistan, a crucial match. Australia needing to win to get into the semi-finals. Afghanistan bat first, make 291. They set it up, and then they have Australia 7 for 91. And everybody's thinking Australia's going to lose here. This is going to be historic for Afghanistan. Australia's now going to be a bit of a shootout for the semi-finals because it looked like their net run rate was going to take a massive hit. And then we witnessed what many pundits have said is the greatest white ball knock in history. And this is not just coming from me, a one-eyed Australian, but Michael Vaughan and commentators from around the world have called this the greatest white ball knock ever. And I'll just read out the stats. So Glenn Maxwell, obviously 201 not out off 128 deliveries. It's the highest ever score for an Australian in men's ODI cricket. It's the second double century by an Australian in ODI cricket after Belinda Clark's double. It's the highest score. It's the third World Cup double century. Chris Gale and Martin Guptill scored a double century each before. It's the first ever double century in a run chase. Maxwell is the first player to score an ODI double ton while batting at 3 or lower. Maxwell and Pat Cummins put on 202 not outs, and it's the highest partnership for the 7th wicket or lower in men's ODI cricket, knocking off a Pommy record, so that's good. It's the second fastest one-day international double century in men's cricket behind Ishan Kishan's 126-ball effort. It's the highest chase by Australia in a World Cup. And get this, Cummins and Maxwell put on 202. Glenn Maxwell scored 179 runs of that partnership. So that equates to 88.61% of the runs scored, which, as you'd imagine, is the highest ever percentage of a batter scoring in a century partnership or above. So, I mean, that's a cavalcade of stats, James. But, I mean, that is... I don't know how much of it you saw, but the hitting from Maxwell was just mind-blowing.
Absolutely incredible, wasn't it, Manners? Yeah, I didn't see it live, as I said before, but watching the highlights numerous times today just to kind of work out far out, how has he done this? You know, this is just incredible striking. Obviously, the cramps threw in there at the end there, but, you know, the rock wall, Paddy Cummins down the other end as well, playing his part. It was well orchestrated, and it was just clean striking of the ball all around the park. Pretty special. And I know as a player, sometimes you're in those moments where someone's going quite hard against you and hitting the ball cleanly, and you think it's one of those times. Yeah, he'll eventually hit one up, or eventually get out. No, it was clean. It was amazing, and it was 200 runs out of 290, which is just bananas. So unreal.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because I mean, I Australia was 7 for 90, and I was thinking I'll just watch a little bit more, and then Maxi started going, and I'm like, oh, I was like, even if Maxi scores 100 here, we're still going to lose by 100. So I was sort of just hanging in there, and then as the partnership went on, and the drama around his cramps was something to watch live, because I mean there was a lot of stoppages in play. At one point he was just lying like reverse planking on the ground, his back, his leg, everything was cramping. And Adam Zampa came down from the dressing room, the next batter in, and at one point you're thinking Maxi's going to retire hurt here. And the word is that the physio said to him, look, if you come off, you're probably not going to be able to get back out there. Your body will shut down. So you're actually better off, if you want to stay out there as long as you can, just keep swinging.
Just keep swinging.
And Maxi was talking about it in the post-match interview, that because of the cramps and everything, he actually couldn't move his feet. He couldn't move around the crease, and he was just kind of swinging naturally. Like, I mean, he's a great golfer and stuff like that. But, I think it illustrates, the importance. He just kept his head still, watching the ball, and just allowed his talent and bat swing to take over. And some of those shots were jaw-dropping. He played one reverse lap over third that just went 50 rows back, and that stage he couldn't walk, so I don't even know how he was able to do it. So just incredible. And Afghanistan rue a couple of drop chances. I think he was dropped in the 20s, and then he was dropped by Mujib on 33, an absolute sit-up. So that could wreck Afghanistan's World Cup campaign. He was given out LBW on 27, and he thought he was plumb, but Pat Cummins at the other end said, no, I think that's going over the top. And he reviewed it and got a reprieve. And from that 33 drop, he just didn't give another chance. And, Pat Cummins just stayed at one end, 12 not out of 68 deliveries. And Maxi did all the work. And I don't know. I don't know if you know much about the history of white ball cricket, James, but I was sort of thinking about, is this the greatest white ball knock ever? And, I know there was a famous innings in the probably 80s, early 80s, where Viv Richards put on a massive partnership with Michael Holding, and same figures. Viv's like 180 not out. Michael Holding makes 10. But that was West Indies batting first, setting a target against England. Doing it in a chase, there's just so much more pressure, isn't there, James?
Yeah, definitely. There definitely is a lot more pressure. But then there's arguments to say that for Maxi's case, he'd been dropped a couple of times. He should have been out. He got to 30, thought, righto, I'm going here. It's make or break almost. And then once he got going, he was kind of like, he was just having a day out. And then the cramps come in, and it's almost like, okay, well, I've just got to stand still and swing. And sometimes that it can really just be simplified for you, if that makes sense. And you just kind of go, well, I've got to get this done here now. I'm obviously restricted and I'm limited by my, physically. But some of his positions, as you said, like he was able just to have a still base, a still head position, swing the bat. And there's actually some technical brilliance in that, really.
Definitely. And he actually said that when he was given out LBW and he got that reprieve, he sort of thought to himself, I can't just hang around here. I've got to actually
move it on,
score some runs. And just, as I said, so I was there, James, and I was thinking, there's no way Australia can win this. Like, I was thinking Maxwell will have to score 200 here. And he didn't. Like, I sort of thought I was dreaming. It finished around 4 a.m. and, I looked at my watch an hour later. It was 5 a.m. and I was still buzzing. And I was sort of listening to some commentators who were over in the ground covering it, and they were buzzing as well. I mean, it's just one of those just incredible moments in cricket that I don't think anyone will ever forget who saw it. So just phenomenal. And what a sort of, I think the last week kind of encapsulates Glenn Maxwell's career. It was the fastest ever World Cup century against the Netherlands, then falls off a golf cart and has to miss the game against England, and comes back and scores this history-making double century.
Yeah, exactly right. That sums him right. I'll have to go play golf tomorrow.
So a few more things about the game. So Afghanistan batted first, and there was a couple of team changes for Australia. So Mitch Marsh came back in after having to leave the squad. So he went back to number 3. Steve Smith didn't play due to health concerns. He's got a bit of vertigo. Nothing to do with your campaign to get Marnus in that spot, James. I'm afraid it was due to vertigo. So Smith was resting that one. So Marnus Labuschagne gets another reprieve, the man you just can't drop. And also Marcus Stoinis came back in for Cameron Green. So I think sort of a pretty the sort of lineup we're expecting. Afghanistan bat first. They win the toss and bat first. And Ibrahim Zadran made Afghanistan's first ever World Cup century, slightly overshadowed by what happened later on. But he batted magnificently right throughout the innings, carried his bat. He was 129 not out. And it was almost a classic 50-over performance from Afghanistan. They laid the foundations. They were going around sort of 4.5 and over. And then in the last 10 overs, you had a series of cameos. Asmatullah, 22 off 18, Nabi, 12 off 10, and then our old mate from your teammate from the Strikers, Rashid Khan, 35 not out of 18 deliveries. They gave Afghanistan the kick at the end to get the target to 291. Geez, you'll be looking forward to playing with Rash, won't you?
Definitely. More of that, please, Rash. That'd be great.
Exactly. And for the bowling for Australia, Stark 9 overs, 1 for 70. Again, a patchy performance from him. He hasn't quite been able to string together a couple of good performances. Josh Hazlewood, 2 for 39. Maxwell, 1 for 55. Cummins, none for 47. Zampa, 10 overs, 1 for 58. Again, consistent from him. And then Travis Head and Marcus Stoinis bowled 4 overs between them. But I thought it was a fairly good bowling performance from Australia. I just don't think they quite nailed the death bowling at the end there, and Afghanistan were able to sort of capitalize on that. But I thought Afghanistan played really well. I mean, what stunned me about that innings was the maturity they showed. I know it's not old. I know everyone knows their development has been quite striking, but they've certainly shed that tag as like the easy beats. I mean, that was as good as performance with the bat as any other team in the World Cup would put together.
Yeah, and what I liked about it is there's obviously been some patterns around batting first this World Cup and the success that that's brought, but there's been some big scores too. There's been your 300 pluses, and I think from Afghanistan's point, they might have got sucked into feeling like they had to get such a big score against Australia, but they were disciplined at the start. As you said, they were well measured. They adapted to the conditions. They played what was in front of them, and then they ended up getting, what was a good score, what at some point looked like, an unbelievable score. They backed themselves with their spinners to bowl and get us out. And obviously, 9 times out of 10 at 7 for 90, they probably win that game. So they played really, really well, and they have played really well in these conditions in India.
Yes, definitely. Because the key danger for Afghanistan is they lose a few wickets in the power play, and they can't recover from that. But they just laid the foundations, played beautifully. Then Australia came out to bat in reply, and Travis Head went in the second over, caught behind off Naveen Al-Haq. Naveen had said a few words in the lead up to the game about Australia boycotting a bilateral series and not boycotting this game. So I think he enjoyed that wicket, but it was actually, he was getting the ball to really swing in Wankhede Stadium there. And so Travis Head was out for a duck. Then Mitch Marsh was out for 24, brisk 24, but wrapped on the pads by Naveen Al-Haq again. Good ball, just off cutter or in swinging into Marsh's front pad. I guess that's where he's slightly vulnerable technically, and that had Australia 2 for 43. And David Warner tried to swing across the line one. He was bowled for 18 off Azmatullah, and so Australia 49 for 3. And then it gets worse. Josh Inglis comes in and first ball wafts at a wide one, and he's caught at first slip for a golden duck. So it's 4 for 49. That brings out Glenn Maxwell to the crease. And then Marnus Labuschagne. Well, this is you've got to bring this up because Marnus is your mate. So Maxwell really stitched him up here. He just nudges one into the onside, calls a very tight single. Marnus does hesitate, which probably cost him his wicket in the end because he was just out. But I probably don't think there was a single there in that situation. And poor Marnus gets run out for 14. What I love about Marnus is he just cannot hide his emotions. Like, he looked devastated. He was lying on the ground. His eyes are hollow. I mean, you've been in the dressing room with him when he gets out. I mean, what's he like when he comes back into the sheds after getting out? I mean, feels like he's ready just to give up the game every time.
Far from that, definitely. But there's definitely, he's definitely very disappointed, Marnus, and I think he's a lot better now than probably was when we played on the 17s and 19s together. There's some funny stories of him, but it's just passion, isn't it? He's got so much passion, it's emotion. In a chase like that last night, he would have felt like he was a big part of gluing it all together, which he was. And, no one ever wants to get run out. It's not a nice way to get out. But it happens in cricket, and unfortunately he got run out. So...
in those under 17s and 19s, what do you mean funny stories? What does he chuck a wobbly or?
Oh, just kicking and screaming and, maybe throwing a little bit of gear and having a bit of a sook when he got out. Yeah, you didn't really want to be around him because he just hated getting out, and he still hates getting out. And that's probably why makes him so good as well.
Yeah, I'm still getting over the cold toasted sandwich thing from that Test documentary. So for those that are listening, Marnus, in the Test documentary, he toasts his cheese sandwich and then he puts it in the fridge, and then he eats it a bit later on. Was that a bit, or did he actually do that?
He doesn't do it anymore, I don't think. He did it for a little bit there. And Marnus, once he finds something, he enjoys something new. He goes with it with a little, for a little bit, and it became a little bit a part of his routine. As we saw, he kind of made his toasty, put it in the fridge, went out a hit, came back. So it was just a routine thing for him. It's just a man of routines like that, and sometimes he finds little new things, and they almost just freshen him up, and he goes with it for a little bit. But I don't think the cold toasties stuck around for too much longer than that.
It doesn't sound too appealing.
No.
So he was run out, and then Stoinis and Stark went pretty quickly to Rashid Khan. And at that point, Australia was 7 for 91. Afghanistan were all over us. They were up and about. Rashid Khan was all fired up. I mean, he was loving it. They were just really enjoying dominating Australia. And I was starting to think about, what this will mean for Afghanistan to not only beat Australia, but if they'd won last night, they would have had one foot in the semi-finals. But instead, we just witnessed just an incredible partnership. And what happened at the end was so exciting. Maxwell was on 195. Australia needed 5 to win. And then he just flicked a 6 over the onside and went to his double century, brought up the win for Australia. And I think Pat Cummins tweeted something out today about, Glenn Maxwell gave him good support out there as a bit of a joke. So, what a finish. What did he say? He goes, Pat Cummins, a lot of credit should go to Maxwell. He played his role beautifully. I like the sarcasm there from Pat Cummins. And there were shots as well of Andrew McDonald getting quite emotional, almost coming to tears. And just a brilliant night for the team, brilliant night for the country. And a night I don't think anyone will ever forget. And I just hope it translates into us making a run at this title. Let's win the semi-final and get into that final. And then you never know what happens. But I hope this isn't just a sidebar from a campaign that comes to an end.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so Australia qualified for the semi-finals. They're pretty much going to play South Africa next week. And we all know about the history between Australia and South Africa in World Cup semi-finals. I was lucky enough to be at the match in 1999 that was tied, where there was that famous run-out. And then in 2007, we absolutely destroyed South Africa in the World Cup semi-final there. I think they were 5 for 30 after 10 overs, and the game was gone. So they have all those demons. If ever a team has demons in knockout cricket, it's South Africa. So hopefully that gives us a bit of an advantage. But, trends are meant to be broken, so I wouldn't take them too lightly. They've been in good form and a dangerous side. So a lot to look forward to next week with that World Cup semi-final.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about the timed out dismissal from the match before. You're listening to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. I'm Menas. I'm with James Bazley, and we just talked about Australia's famous win. And now, the night before, I honestly thought when this happened that cricket fans should get a day off work, because we had the first ever timed out dismissal in international cricket. That's right. In 150 years of international cricket, it had never happened before. Sri Lankan player Angelo Matthews was timed out when the Bangladeshi skipper Shakib Al Hassan lodged an appeal, because what happened was, for those that haven't seen it, Angelo Matthews strolled out to the crease, was out there within 2 minutes, but then his chin strap broke and he wandered off to replace his helmet. At that point, one of the Bangladeshi team said to the skipper, I think if you appeal here, Angelo Matthews will be out. Shakib Al Hassan appealed. The umpire, Chris Gaffney, said to him a couple of times, are you sure you want to go through with this? He said, yes. And Angelo Matthews was told to get off. You're out. The first ever timed out in international cricket. I mean, what do you think about that, James?
Oh, I don't like it, Menas. I do not like it at all. Yeah, my take on it is it's poor. I mean, his helmet broke, clearly. So where's the common sense in going, yeah, righto, well, obviously, I mean, he did take his time getting out at the start, which probably cost him in the end, but he did get there in the allotted 2 minutes to the middle and go to kind of get ready to face up. His helmet broke. I think there's some common sense to go, okay, well, the guy needs a new helmet. We know that's important. Getting hit on the head is, around those concussion protocols and everything, that's not something to play with. So get a new helmet and we push on. That's my take on it. Just a bit of common sense, a bit of smarts. It's just, it was not very good. Appalling.
No. And
what's your take?
I'm going to give everyone a little bit of a break in the fact that it's such an unusual situation. I don't think anyone really knew how to handle it. So I think everyone's at fault in a little bit of it. Like, I think Angelo Matthews probably should have, when the strap broke, said to the umpire, my strap's broken, can I replace the helmet? And if the umpire had said, well, if you do that, I can give you out, timed out, maybe he'd have just faced the ball off the spinner and then changed his helmet, and he wouldn't have given that out. I thought the umpires could have said, no, that's not out. He actually was out here ready to face up, and his chin strap broke, and just used some common sense. And I don't think anyone would have really had a problem with that. Like, I don't think there'd be people arcing up, I should have been given out. And I also think Shakib Al Hassan shouldn't have appealed. I think, I'm all for people, I'm all for the game to keep going. And had Angelo Matthews been on time wasting on purpose, then sure, appeal and, give him out. Shakib Al Hassan said, I'm in a war. And if there's anything I can do to give my team advantage, I'm going to do it. And part of me respects that, like, no bullshit attitude, like just the rules are the rules, you're out. So do you think sort of, I heard Robert Craddock from the Courier Mail up your way comparing it to the Johnny Bairstow dismissal, that, they're both kind of in that spirit of cricket area. What do you think?
I wouldn't really compare it to the Johnny Bairstow dismissal. That was quite clear. There's a crease line, you're out of it, and you've been run out. So that was pretty clear cut. There was no cricketing skill involved in this at all. You know what I mean? It's simply a clock and obviously that equipment malfunction. So I wouldn't compare it to the Johnny Bairstow dismissal too much. I think it's a lot worse than that in terms of the spirit of cricket. It's a lot worse than that. Appealing for someone to be timed out with an issue with his helmet, etc. But you've put it well there. Like, Angelo could have been better. The umpires could have been better. And Shakib could have been better as well. But there's a first for everything. So we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask for Shakib to be better. He's had a troubled history in cricket, and just another incident that will go into the annals. And just the fact that, why don't think you compare it to the Johnny Bairstow dismissal is, and this is something that's never happened before in international cricket. Plenty of players have been out wandering out of their crease stump like Johnny Bairstow did. I mean, this is, almost a technicality. And sort of respect Shakib Al Hassan's kind of balls to just go, well, stuff you all. I mean, a wicket's a wicket. I don't care how I get it. But I just think you're right. When a player's equipment is broken, that's just, I don't know. There's something just doesn't feel quite right. And, I just wonder now if it could be a new little tactic of equipment sabotage going on in cricket teams to start loose, just go into the opposition's dressing room and just start loosening chin straps and, pulling out a few stitches.
Exactly right.
Get a few cheap wickets that way. But I just, 2 nights in a row, and I've been lukewarm on this World Cup, but 2 nights in a row, I've just stopped what I'm doing and just been glued to the television. And I loved it when Angelo Matthews got Shakib Al Hasan out. He just held his hand up like he was looking at a watch and said, "Time's up." So and I just can't believe, in 2 nights we've seen that innings from Glenn Maxwell and we've seen the timed out. It's cricket nuffy heaven, actually.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's the international stuff. So the World Cup marches on. Australia due to play Bangladesh on Saturday night, and then the semi-finals will be next week. And really, it's just the 4th spot now in the semi-finals that's open. You've got Pakistan, Afghanistan, and New Zealand all sort of vying for that 4th spot. So there is a bit to play for in these last few games. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's turn our attention to the local scene. So we'll come back from India to wonderful domestic cricket. I've been ensconced in the action the last week. I want to talk about a couple of things. Firstly, the Marsh One Day Cup is still is humming along. WA are on top, but New South Wales beat WA on the weekend, and they are now level on points and just behind WA on net run rate. Victoria sit 3rd, Tasmania 4th, Queensland 5th on 7 points, and then South Australia having a bit of a horror run in the comp. They're down the bottom on 1 point. There have been a couple of games since our last recording. Queensland, tough loss to Tasmania. Tasmania 8 for 376. Queensland in reply 348. You played in that game, Bays.
I did, yeah, I did. Definitely a tough loss, yeah.
So I saw Caleb Jewell made a nice 137 for Tasmania. He's a player to watch. Really talented. He's mid-20s. I think he's just sort of hitting the peak of his career. What was it like? Did he give you a bit of tap?
Yeah, a little bit. I've actually bowled pretty well to Caleb, but he got off to a nice start. I've seen him play a few good innings now, and it probably wasn't one of his cleaner ball striking efforts at times. He hit some balls that landed just near fielders and whatnot. But he's a player that when you miss your lengths or your line, he makes you pay. And he's got some nice hitting ability too for an opening batter. So it was a wonderful knock, and it set up the game for them to be in a wonderful position where we had to have a really special day out chasing it, and we batted pretty well, but fell about 30 short.
Yeah, it's a couple of games, I think, where Queensland have been really in the hunt for these big chases and just haven't been quite able to finish them off. How did you go? I saw you bowling, leaked a few runs. How was it good to get out there, get the maroon on of the Queensland side?
Yeah, it was wonderful to be out there again. Yeah, definitely leaked a few runs in a high-scoring game. You've got to be really disciplined, and I probably bowled. It's as simple as 4 or 5 bad balls that go to the boundary, and that's 20 extra runs. You have a flat wicket, a short boundary. Your margin for error is small, but it wasn't too bad. And then my batting, I gave myself a bit of time at the end there, but didn't quite get going when we needed to. So that was a shame. But you need a lot of things to go your way in a chase like that, and we probably were 1 or 2 too many wickets down going into the last 10 overs.
Yeah, well, hopefully you get out there again soon for the Queensland side. I think they're due to play pretty soon. There's a few more games before the break.
No more Marsh Cup until February, Menace.
No more for you. Wow, okay. Because we've got there's a couple of games. Tasmania play Victoria, Western Australia to South Australia. So they're the last 2. So you're all now T20 focused now. So a lot of range hitting, working on your variations. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, still preparing for 4-day cricket as well. There's still
True.
two Shield games left. So yeah, I'm still doing plenty of Red Bull practice. If I'm called upon there, I'll be ready to go. And then I'll start to do some T20 work and build up for Big Bash. Yeah.
Excellent. A tough lot for Queensland there. Good to get your insights, James. And then the other result I mentioned, Western Australia were beaten for the first time this season in any format in the Marsh One Day Cup on Saturday. They batted first, were bowled out for 216. Will Saltzman took 4 for 48. He's a youngster to watch out for. He's got a lot of energy. I saw him bowl in the previous Marsh One Day Cup game, and yeah, I like him. And then young Blake McDonald hit 81 in the chase, and New South Wales won by 2 wickets with 6 balls remaining in a Duckworth-Lewis Stern adjusted score, and that took them up to second on the ladder, just behind Western Australia. But I know you won't like to hear this, but nice to see a few little positive signs from New South Wales cricket, because I think it does add to the whole competition. When New South Wales are firing, it's good for the comp.
Yeah, definitely. And
you don't have to agree with me.
No. I agree with that. That's healthy competition. And I know last podcast we spoke about, them probably underperforming with some of the players that they have. They have a strong list. So, yeah, if they start to put it together, that'll be good for them and make the competition stronger.
Yes, so they got the win. I said Will Saltzman's a player to watch out for, and Blake McDonald as well. And then we move on to the Sheffield Shield. And, New South Wales have ended their drought. So they last won a Sheffield Shield game in February 2022. So that's a season and a half ago. I never thought I'd hear those words. Western Australia and New South Wales at the Sydney Cricket Ground. So what's interesting, James, it's a newly relayed pitch at the SCG. At the end of last season, they dug it up and put new grass on there. And it's actually quite bizarre. They've gone on the outside of the square. They've got a US grass called Tahoma grass. So the pitches on the outside are different to the pitches in the middle, which is a St. Anna grass, which is the same grass they use at the Adelaide Oval. So you're going to get some variety out in the middle square, but it's a fresh pitch, and you could see that because there was a lot of life. And New South Wales won the toss. They elected to bowl. Western Australia bowled out for 141 in the first innings, which I thought was probably overs. The way New South Wales are batting, I thought, Western Australia might not even have to bat again here. And then New South Wales, their top order was completely destroyed again. And I'm thinking, well, this is going to be another New South Wales loss. So at one point, New South Wales were 4 for 71, and I thought, oh, this is all over. And then Ollie Davies, in just his third Shield game, peeled off 129 off 143 balls. He partnered with Moses Enriquez, who made 51. That was actually his 100th Sheffield Shield match, just the 5th New South Welshman to play 100 games. James, I cannot explain to you what a good innings that was from Ollie Davies. That pitch was tough. The bowling was good. Joel Paris can get the ball to swing around corners, and he just smashed them.
He took them on, didn't he? It was Ollie Davies style as well, which is, I guess, pleasing to see as a young player who's confident in his own ability, and perhaps being backed by their staff and their captain too to play the way he wants to play and play that attacking brand, because essentially he comes out in that position and you can, I guess, feel the pressure and you can tense up and be tentative, and just be another dismissal waiting to happen, I guess, Manners. But for him, it was, I'm going to turn this game around, put pressure back on the bowler, and I'm going to get my team into a position where we have a nice first innings lead. So it was a great knock from Ollie.
Oh, it was, and it's just what New South Wales needed. And I've been saying for a little while, they should just pick him. I mean, just pick some aggressive players. It's not working. Whatever they're doing wasn't working. Pick someone who's just going to go out there and have a crack. And it's exactly what the game situation needed. All that New South Wales needed to do was just get in front of Western Australia and get a healthy first innings lead, and then dominate the game. And so he's maiden first-class centuries for Ollie Davies. Some scintillating stroke play. Go and watch the highlights on cricket.com.au. And that meant New South Wales got a lead of 135 and 135. And then they bowled out Western Australia for 136. And so they just needed to chase one run, which they got. But the real hero was Chris Tremaine, who took the first 5 wickets of the Western Australian innings. At one point, he had figures of 5 for 7, ended up with figures of 5 for 35. And they bowled out a very strong WA side for 136 and won by 10 wickets. So finally, that long drought for New South Wales cricket is over. And, I'm glad it was on the back of a youngster, because I think that's what, gives me heart for the future.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great win from New South Wales.
I know it pains you to say that, James. You got the words out.
It does. I got them out.
And look, some interesting stuff there. Cameron Bancroft batted well in both innings, made a half century in the second innings. Lance Morris played, and he is quick. Up close. Very, very quick. And I think as well that new pitch at the SCG is going to be really interesting. I just wonder how it's going to play over the summer. So keep an eye on that one. So that was the Sheffield Shield. The other games are still going on. I think Victoria had a draw in their match today against Tasmania, and Queensland are playing at the moment against South Australia. So Queensland lead by 235. South Australia lead Queensland at the moment by 235 runs with 5 wickets remaining. So that could be set for a thrilling finish tomorrow. I get tomorrow off. I was supposed to commentate on the last day of the WA New South Wales game, but get the day off. So
get the day off. So you'll be watching a little bit of South Australia versus the Bulls.
Absolutely, that's it. Always have the Shield on. So that's the last of the Sheffield Shield. Just turning our attention to WBBL very quickly. So great news. I'm doing a special WBBL series over the next couple of weeks. So I'll be interviewing players from the clubs. Just recording an interview with Hurricane star Naomi Stallenberg. Going to be talking to some players about the WBBL. So if you're a WBBL fan, there's lots of great interviews coming. At the moment, though, the Thunder, the Strikers, and the Heat are all on top with 10 points. There's been some great cricket played there. But look, it's moving so fast at the moment. I don't think there's too much benefit in us going into details, because by the time you listen to this, there'll be another 6 games. But I guess my only thought at the moment, James, is on the ladder, you've got the Renegades and the Stars down the bottom and the Sydney Sixers just above them. And I mean, I love seeing the Victorian sides down the bottom. I mean, I just love bashing the Stars. Like, the two things I like bashing are the English cricket team and the Melbourne Stars. But I don't think it's great for the competition when you've got 3 clubs in the biggest markets languishing at the bottom. So I'd love to see the Stars and the Renegades turn that around just towards the back end of the comp.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they can get on a run. That was about where we were last year with the Brisbane Heat, and then we won a lot of games in a row. So they can get on a run down there. Just having a look at it now.
They're about halfway through the comp, so you're damn right.
Yeah, they are. They've played 7. They've won 2. If they win 5 of their next 7, they've won, half of their games, which, could get them into a semi, sneak them in. So they could get going, but it looks like it's going to be tough work.
Indeed. All right. And just want to wrap it up now with Can't Let It Go, which is that little bit of cricket news you just can't let go through to the keeper. I've got a couple. So firstly, I got some correspondence from a listener now, but leading into the World Cup, I was asked by the network that the podcast is on to just do a little promo about Cricket Unfiltered. And I said, unlike the Ashes, there can be no ludicrous claims of moral victories. One team will lift the cup, obviously referring to English claims of being moral victors in the Ashes. And then I got this email, coincidentally, just after England were knocked out of the World Cup. This is from another humorless English fan. Hello, Andrew. I just wanted to suggest your promo for your Cricket Unfiltered podcast is not the most helpful, as it polarizes every expat English cricket supporter living in Australia. The words ludicrous moral victory are ludicrous if you look at the definition of a moral victory in the dictionary. And then put in bold, means that although they have officially lost, in Ashes context drawn, a contest, they have succeeded in showing they are right about something, England with a better team. Even the most seasoned cricket follower agreed that without the 2 days of rain at Old Trafford, England would have won the Ashes. Well, that's complete BS. You never know what would have happened. And then he just takes a stab at the end. Good luck with your podcast. I will continue to listen to Test Match Special and the Wisdom Cricket Podcast. Thanks, Richard, as I call him, Dick. I always love to hear from the fans and the listeners. And, just make, humorless English cricket fan cannot take a joke. So I thought I'd read that one out.
Can't let it go, can you?
No, can't let it go.
Clearly not, no.
Do you have any bit of cricket news you want to get off your chest?
No, just the timeout. Can't let that go. That's about it for me.
No.
But yours is better.
Good. And I've got one last, can't let it go. People say to me, oh, Menace, you get a bit emotional, you're a bit of lunatic sometimes. Well, Gerard Whateley, who is considered to be one of the most professional and measured cricket commentators in Australia, went on the radio and called the Poms graceless pillocks. So, if Gerard Whateley, who is so measured, is going on and calling the Poms graceless pillocks, I think I'm right. I mean, I think I deserve apologies. I'd like Richard to write back in and apologize. And the funny thing is, James, all these idiots that say, oh, I'm never going to listen again, they always come back. They always come back. It's like there is that, people can hate listen. Like, I don't expect every Pommy fan to like me. And I sort of feel like this year, the cultural differences between the two countries have really been exaggerated. And, I just don't think that's going to change. So you should enjoy it. I don't mind the Poms. Like, I'm just, they're annoying. That's all.
I like it, Matters. Well done. They're good.
All right, guys. Good. All right. Well, that's it for this edition of Cricket Unfiltered. James, what's the plan? You're playing on the weekend?
Playing club cricket on the weekend, yes. Supporting the Bulls tomorrow. Training tomorrow, and hopefully the Bulls can chase a nice Shield win there, and then playing on Saturday.
Great. And then when do you head across to the Big Bash? When does Jason Gillespie get his mitts on you?
First week of December, I'll be heading down, which will be good. And our first game's on the 9th in Adelaide. So, yeah, it's getting close, Matters, for that. So I'll get myself ready for that. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Oh,
I can't wait as well. And it's going to be great to talk to you throughout the Big Bash occasionally and just get your insights into playing for the Strikers. And, they've got a great culture over there with Dizzy and Ryan Harris. And, I think, it's going to be a fantastic experience for you.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait.
All right, listeners. Well, that is it for this edition of Cricket Unfiltered. We'll be back after the Australia v Bangladesh game, which fortunately starts early on Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. start. So just perfect for just putting the feet up and watching cricket for the rest of the night. And also those WBBL interviews I'll be pushing out over the next couple of weeks. I just want to give people an insight into sort of the players and the competition and, what their sort of perspective is of the WBBL players. So been really interesting so far, so I'm sure the listeners will enjoy it.
Awesome, Manners. Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Back soon.
See ya.